Hi, and thank you for volunteering for the BVEF Art Docent program. The goal of the Art Docent program is to teach students art techniques as part of their art education. This lesson is called Foreground Background, and the goal is to teach composition. At this age, a lot of kids draw a baseline, and they call that the ground, and then they put all of their characters on top of the ground and maybe draw a sky on top. Well, when you're learning composition, you need to learn a little bit more about foreground and background. So that's where this lesson comes to play. So to start off with, I'm going to show you what is supplied for this lesson. The Art Docent box is located in the back office of the main office, and if you're confused, you can always ask up at the front and they'll direct you. And so what's in the box to begin with is a folder, and the folder has a copy of the lesson. You can bring your own notes and your own copy of the lesson, but please just leave the original in the binder. Some examples of the final art, as well as some images to be used in the lesson. These are all in the folder. We have some foreground background examples of a window, a tree, and a little boy or girl, a little child, sorry. We have black paper. This is for mounting the final image on to send home, as well as some glue stick. We have simple white paper and a pad of tracing paper for the composition. We have tape and we have pastels. The main thing we'd like to talk about are the pastels. Our volunteer supply coordinator will make sure that your box is ready for your lesson. So the first thing to know is at the end of your lesson, you may notice that there's only a few sheets of black paper left. That's okay, because the coordinator is only going to put in the box the things that you need for your lesson and not really junk it up with a bunch of extra stuff. So you don't need to let them know if you're low on paper, but please let them know if they are low on pastels. And I'll show you an example. So this is a box of fresh, wonderful, ready-to-go pastels. This box, if you added that in there, this one can go for about another lesson, so that one's still good to go. Once you get to here, if this is what you're seeing or some combination, this is when you need to leave a big note for the supply coordinator so that we can get the boxes back up to this level. Okay, so what is foreground background? So that's the first question. And we have a bunch of examples and art and beyond of what foreground background is. So to start off, this is a picture, it's called Christina's World, and in the picture you can see that the house is located at the tippy top of the page. So you can point this out to kids. Where is the house? And where is the girl? And what would happen if the house was right next to the girl? Well, it's so small, it would actually look like a little dollhouse next to her. So the way the picture is composed is that she is large and she's at the bottom of the page, and then the house is small and it's up at the top of the page, and it actually tells a story. Maybe she's thinking about her house or wanting to get home, but having it so far away from her is part of the story. And here's a picture where you can talk about a mountain. So you can ask kids, where's the mountain? And they're gonna say at the top of the page. And you can say, well, how big is a mountain? And they're gonna say, a mountain is huge, but here in the picture, the mountain is really small and compared to the people. And again, it's small and it's at the top of the page, and that's telling a composition of the page. This picture is telling a different kind of story. By having the boy in front of a window and then the city behind the window, you know the boy is inside a house. And so that's how the foreground and background is helping tell a story. And we've got one more. We've got the rebel fighter in the AT-AT, and we all know that an AT-AT is actually huge. So in this picture, he still has time to get away from the AT-AT, and you know that because he's really close up in the foreground and the AT-AT's still behind. It ends up being this dramatic picture because of the composition. So Now you can explain a little bit further on how does foreground background tell a story. And that's what these laminated pictures are for. So you can ask the students, are they inside the house or outside of the house? And they'll say, oh, we're inside the house. And then all you have to do is you turn it around, and now it's outside the house and it's a little boy looking outside. Or maybe you just move the boy here and now it's a little boy looking inside. Or maybe you turn it around this way and it's a little boy with a tree inside his house. So just by your layering, you can tell different stories with your composition. And that's what the point of this lesson is discussing composition. Okay, so what is the lesson? What are the kids going to be doing? So while you've been talking, the other volunteers can be passing out paperwork and making sure each student gets a set of pastels. And so each student will get one sheet of paper and the pastels. And oh, you also need to show them all the examples. Now this is the tricky part, because the kids have their own animation and their own imagination, and they can come up with their own picture to draw. So you have to be really careful showing them these pictures, because the minute you show them these pictures, you're going to get a classroom filled with pictures of our lovely green hills and maybe a picnic scene. And I have another one in here that leads to just about every child drawing a dinosaur in front of a black volcano, and then you have no more black pastels. And here is another one of some children in a house all in front of a landscape. So show these, because the kids need to know that they're going to be drawing a landscape or a background first, and then they're going to be drawing their people and the things in the foreground as a second option. So they have to plan it to say, okay, so what's my background going to be? Am I going to do an ocean, a mountain, maybe my backyard? And then they're going to do the people in front. And you're going to need to emphasize that they don't want to draw any people in the background, because that means the person is in the background, because their people should all be on the front. So you show them these, but then tuck them away so that they can come up with their own picture. So for my example, I'm going to do an ocean scene to be different from all of those. And it is okay if the kids want to peel the paper off with the pastels, because it gives them a pretty cool technique they can do. So I'm going to start by putting a tiny boat, and you can tell it's tiny because it has lots of sails, and it's actually a tall ship, so you know it's tiny back there on the ocean. Okay, so now we're going to draw our ocean, because I've got my tiny boat up at the top of the picture, so I need to put some ocean around. And this is where you can show the kids that if they use a flat pastel, they can actually cover a fair amount of ground. What you want to avoid and look for is the kid who sits there and starts doing this, because they will never get finished with their project. So keep an eye out for that. Teach them this new awesome trick of getting a lot of color on there. And you may also want to remind them that the bottom of their page is actually going to be their foreground. So they may not want to add a lot of detail down here, so that when they add their foreground in, it doesn't, it's not overpowered by their background. All right, good enough. Now I need my tracing paper. And so when the kids got their background done, raise their hand, and you can give them a sheet of tracing paper. And now they get to do their foreground. And so for my foreground, I'm sitting at the beach. So we've got a beach, and then on the beach, and this is where that kind of all starts to come together. is a humongous beach umbrella. And the pastels add such nice rich color, and they're really super nice on this tracing paper too. They're really bright and add a lot of detail. Alright, so now you've got your foreground and your background. So at this point I have finished my composition, and what happens next is it goes to the volunteers to put on the black paper. Go ahead and have the kids write their name on the black paper, put the BVF sticker on the back, and then on the front, what you're going to do is you're going to center their artwork and go ahead and glue that down with the glue stick. And then what the tape is for is all we're going to do is apply tape to the top of the picture. And that way when they get home, they can say, hey parents, check it out, I did foreground background today. See, the beach umbrella and the chair, those are in the front. And then if you lift it up, you can see that there's a ship in the back. And so this ends up creating a more dynamic object to take home as well. Okay, so we are done, and that's it. On behalf of Bennett Valley Education Foundation, we thank you for volunteering for the Art Docent program.